Ladies and gentlemen, good news, new episode. Thanks so much for joining us. This is the podcast where we talk about how to follow Jesus in a post-Christian world. From a life on the streets, now pastoring incarcerated youth, today's guest is the director. He's actually the founder of Chance Initiative and Chance Homes. We're actually at one of his homes now. So excited to have this man on the show today. He's more than just someone doing ministry. He's literally somebody that was there for me at one of the most difficult points of my life. And so, yeah, we're going to talk ministry and what God's using him for, but I can't wait to talk a little bit about what he means to me. Welcome to Good News Podcast, Enrique, Pastor Rick, Saldivar.
I appreciate that. Pastor Bills. You and I go way back.
We go way back, bro.
Way back when I used to call you and say, "Hey, you gonna make it to a family reunion?"
Yes, we were. And so let's talk about that. So I had become a Christian in 2012 and was living here in the Palm Springs area. And I remember the day that I first moved back into the desert. I had gotten diagnosed with cancer, and I went to go buy drugs. And the kid that I bought drugs from, his dad came to the door and was like, "You need to come to church." And I remember going like, "I don't need to go to church, man. I need to get high." And he says, No. I'm a janitor at this church, and I want to bring you." And I came and got saved at church. And the first phone call I got from someone on the team was Pastor Rick, the Connections team. And he's like, "We'd love to hear more about how's it going and how we can be there for you." So it was a special time back then.
It was special. Yeah, we did big things under the leadership of Tony Terrazas.
Yeah, shout out Tony T.
Yeah,
what a great guy.
Great guy. Yeah,
thankful for him.
Thankful for him too.
Yep. So yeah, we would have got connected. That would have been what, 11 years ago now.
Really?
11 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
It's been a long time, dude. Yeah.
Wow, 11 years.
Time goes by pretty quick.
It sure does.
Yep. You were there when I got baptized. You obviously, both and I worked at the same church at one point. We were building a ministry together.
That's right.
And so when I made the decision, I'm back in California this week for Thanksgiving, I was like, somebody that I need to sit down with is Pastor Rick. And so I'm excited, man. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, where'd you grow up?
Well,
born and raised, that kind of stuff.
Born in Mexicali, Mexico.
Okay.
At 4 years old, my mom brought us, to the United States looking for a better way of life.
Yeah.
And then we landed in Cathedral City, California. Cathedral City was, it's my home. It's my, paradise.
Yeah.
A lot of struggles there. A lot of struggles there, And, I go back, 40 something years and I look over my life and realize, what I am and what I do now, I attribute it to all those struggles. Nothing is in vain. But yeah, I mean, it's been a wonderful ride for me, but I got saved in 2007.
Okay. So 2007, you meet Jesus. What was life like before meeting Jesus? Like some of the stuff.
It was a wreck. I mean, everybody knows my testimony. Everybody knows my story. Growing up in a fatherless home, mom working practically, 2 shifts, 24 hours a day. In the area we lived is gang infested, drug infested. So you become part of of an environment that you don't necessarily choose to, but you kind of have to. So it makes it for a good recipe for wreckage.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people that are currently like on the streets doing things or trying to get off the streets. And people often say the same thing. It's like, you don't understand. This is just the only option we have.
Sometimes it is. I don't use it as a crutch. I don't use it as an excuse. At one point or another, you have to make the decision to want to get better.
Yeah.
But, I say your environment, family, culture, all those things play a part. And let me tell you just a little bit about me. So, I get involved with drugs, but I was always pretty smart. So I was able to navigate school well, and I became ASB president. But at school was a safe haven, and I was ASB president for my for my high school, which was amazing. Like,
How old are you at ASB president? Like
16, 17. Okay. But then you go home to the barrio. Yeah. And now you're in this environment where there's just all kinds of chaos, and it becomes harder and harder. And the 90s was really bad. The 90s out here in California was really bad. So you know, I end up graduating and I get to go to college for a little bit, but all that wreckage follows me. So, you know, never had any good guidance and all that stuff. But, you know, and that's how you just live your life for the rest of it, you know, until you really get, you know, to the bottom, you're incarcerated. You know, right. I'm formerly incarcerated myself.
And so you yourself did some time.
Yeah, you know, in the late 90s, you know, I did a 3-year term, came home, thought I had it all figured out.
Yeah.
Did, you know, really well, got a good job and stuff, but still, you still have all these habits and you just can't get rid of. But it wasn't until I hit rock bottom. I mean, my now wife got a restraining order against me, and you know, Pastor Christina got a restraining order.
Yeah. Your wife, the pastor.
This is
obviously before meeting Jesus, of course.
This is all before, you know.
But take us into that moment, because I agree that sometimes, you know, obviously we called our show the Good News Show because I believe in every story there's still some good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta get to the bottom.
So I couldn't see my kids, and it was just, you know, crazy. And one day my kids come and tell me, Dad, we're gonna sing at church for Easter. Would you come and see us? And I was like loaded, and I was like, man, what the heck am I going to be doing at this church, you know? But since I'd seen them very little because of all these constraints that the government had on us, I said, I got to go. And I went, and that's when I gave my life to Christ. So I always tell people, I believe in the local church. Yes. The local church does amazing things. Miracles happen, you know, and I'm a product of that. I got saved that day and gave my life to Christ, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's funny though, because that moment of giving your life to Jesus, it actually seems like it starts its own journey, because you alluded to something. You can definitely get saved, but the habits and patterns of your former life, that takes a journey with Jesus for them to break off. Absolutely, he can heal. But I think some people get saved in their heart, but still deal with temptation.
You quoted something, and when you quoted it, I say that all the time, because for years I have tried to explain people, you know, what God and Jesus, you know, does for the individual and what the church does, right? And for years I was trying to pinpoint it. And Pastor Jacob Aranza came to our church one time, and he said it the best, all right? He said it, that God saved my soul, but the church saved my life. And it's so true. And you quoted that the other day because I seen it.
Oh, I say it all the time in our church.
And I say it all the time also because the church taught me how to pray. The church taught me how to stay saved. The church taught me how to break these habits. Now, Jesus already did what he needed to do.
Sure.
I already gave my life to him.
But it started a journey.
It started a journey. You know, all these amazing people around me, you know, lifted me and believed in me and gave me confidence that I didn't have, you know? It was amazing.
Yeah, and I think some people just look at the local church like they look at like a gym or something. This is something I join. Like Costco, I'm going to join the church. And you don't just join a church. You don't just pick a church.
I'm going to be very bold and tell you that I believe in the local church, but I don't believe in all churches.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'll stop at that.
Well, I mean, in today's day and age, you know, you can say church for about anything.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's medical weed dispensaries calling themselves as churches too, brother. So
especially out here in California.
I bet everyone's a church out here. But yeah, I think there is such a thing as, you know, you get saved and then you still need to work out those habits.
100%.
The Apostle Paul, what did he say? You know, you got to be changed by the renewing of your mind.
100%.
So I'm saved in my soul, but sometimes that mind, you know, how was it for you getting saved and then working through being a new Christian and kind of, you know, finding that life of purpose and eternal significance now?
You know, we're called to serve, you know, our Lord. And I was truly a person that was called. And I say this because I deal with the formerly incarcerated. I deal with the homeless. I deal with the addict. And a lot of them need a lot of work in renewing of the mind. And there's programs and steps and things that we have to do. In my addiction, I never went to a recovery class.
Wow.
In my dysfunction, everything was done by God himself.
Yeah.
I became a new creation the moment that I gave. I went home. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm going to tell you, this is crazy. I gave my life to Christ. That night, I went and threw all my dope away. All right? Okay. I threw it, flushed down the road. Went to sleep, woke up, and I almost beat myself up. Why did I throw it away? You know?
Yeah.
Habit.
Yeah.
Right? Addiction. And when I went to the dope man's house, he had nothing. And every time I would go out and look for it, there was nothing.
Bro,
God.
That is so good.
God put a stop to it. And I would always, well, it ain't nothing happening out here in the streets. I'm going to go to church. And I would always end up on a Wednesday service on Sunday service, and it seemed like God goes, ain't nothing going to happen with you. And people wouldn't call me back. My friends disappeared.
Yeah.
You know, one of my best buddies I used to roll, and he was my crimey and all that stuff. He got put in prison.
Funny how that works.
Huh?
It's funny how that works.
Yeah, God really said, you know what? You're mine.
Yeah, he ruins you for anything else.
Yeah.
Like, we were just in the car together, we listened to someone talk, and he was saying, you know, there's 3 significant moments in your life. You know, when you get saved to meet Jesus, when you get married to your covenant partner, and when you hear the call of God on your life. And I think there's something supernatural when he just ruins you for everything else. Yeah. Because I was doing valet parking when I got saved.
I remember.
You know, and I was like, I'm going to be a manager at the Marriott. And then, like, I remember doors not opening again. People not picking up the phone. I remember going back and
I
not
get
even
saved in
making
2007.
money.
The whole crash, the crash happened in 2008.
Yeah.
I get laid off from Marriott in 2009.
Yeah, because you were there.
Yeah, and then Destiny picks me up.
Yeah.
You know, it says you need to come and work with us part time and do this ministry. By that time, I was already in Bible college, and it closed that door and it opened this door.
Yeah, some people, they're looking for clarity with an open door. Sometimes doors closing is clarity. I was
devastated. I go, wait a minute. This is the first time in my life where I feel like I got things together. I'm tithing. I'm doing this. And this financial crisis in 2008 is going to take my job where I'm supposed to, retire from.
This wasn't the plan.
That was not God's plan,
So you would say that Easter Sunday, was that kind of like your first real encounter with Jesus? Like,
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. And then obviously I had many more because, you start reflecting on all your trauma, all your stresses, and then you just say, you know what, that's not my stress no more. That's not my trauma no more. I accepted you to save me, and I left it, and I would blame him for everything. If I had no finances, I go, I'm believing in you. This is your problem, and you got to fix it, God. And he will always bless me.
So good.
But if I was Rick trying to get my hands in it, I got to do this. Right. And that's one of the things that I teach. I go, sometimes we can't have control out of everything. You have to give it to Christ. You have to really kneel and say, you know what? I need help in this area.
Yeah, the beginning of God is found at the end of yourself. And there's got to be a humility about any believer. This isn't just people in ministry or people that are just getting saved. Any minister, whoever it is, every day you got to start with humility to go, I'm not God.
You're not, and you're going to fail.
Yeah, and
he's going to pick me up.
He's going to pick me up, absolutely. But like you said, you put that expectation on him, and that really drew you. What would you tell somebody, that's in maybe a new Christian watching this, and they're wanting to get to that point, but yet maybe they're so used to doing it their own way? Like,
I always tell people there's spirituality and reality, and some of the new Christians that come, and I deal with a lot. Like I said, we're sitting in a home that's going to house men who have murdered, who have committed crimes and stuff. Reality is that there is trauma. Reality is that we are sinful in nature.
Yes,
reality is that you're not going to get every prayer answered. Spirituality says that, he's got us. Spirituality, he's going to answer our prayers when he sees fit. And, his promises are yes. What do we say? Yes, no, and sometimes hold on a little bit, So there's a spirituality element. For anybody that's a new Christian, be patient, be humble, and never forget about your brethren.
Yeah.
Ministry is amazing, church is amazing, but community is, to me,
that's the defining factor for Jesus. He said, you will know they're of me by how they have love for one another.
100%.
Not for the church they go to, the ministry they're part of. That's all expected, that the people within that, Jesus taught that the church was us and that we carry.
So that's one thing that I've never forgotten.
That's amazing.
Where I came from.
It's great.
Now I met people that have forgotten where they came from.
Yeah.
And not me.
But it's a common thing.
I got brought out from the gutter, and I visit that gutter often, almost every day. to see who I could save out of that gutter. And
that burden is there now.
I have it.
Yeah. So talk about that. Fast forward now from that moment with Jesus on Easter Sunday to all the great things that God has used you for, you know, to build the local church. Now you find yourself doing the very same thing that you came out of at one point.
Yes.
You know, God's using you in a great way.
Yeah. So 16 years in my walk with faith, you know, and with my former church, you know, did amazing things. And I would say that God was preparing me, you know, for me to kind of share his heart in a whole different way, you know, in a whole different way. I don't Bible thump. I want to earn your heart first before I could, you know.
That's great.
You know, cut you and teach you. And what makes it attractive is that I hardly ever mention Jesus when I'm ministering to, you know, to the people that I help. What makes it attractive is like, well, how did you get to this point? Well, first I found Jesus, you know, and I accepted, and they are attracted by that, and that's where I bring in my spiritual element. It's almost like, wow, I get it. A lot of us, you know, and I did it too, you know.
Yeah, but we're taught to think that that's success, this kind of save this many souls, get out there. I mean, at one point I used to stress out, did I talk to anybody about Jesus today?
Yeah.
And I think what you said is so great. The name doesn't even need to be mentioned if the fruit is seen.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And people don't feel like you're shoving someone down their throat. One of my friends, Jeremy, he says, our church, we love people until they ask why.
Wow.
And once they ask why, just like they do with you,
yes,
you say, it's because I found Jesus. No agenda.
That is
you know,
deep.
They're handing out In-N-Out burgers, no notes written on them, nothing. It's not an invite card attached to, you know, the way they're helping homeless.
See, and that resonates with me because that's exactly, and that's how I have earned the trust and respect of local government.
Yeah, because people don't trust churches like they
Pastor
maybe
Bills,
used to. It's different.
I sit on a couple commissions and a couple boards.
Yeah.
And it's unheard of for a pastor to be in these boards, you know, because governments, you know, and you know, I'm an aspiring, you know.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah. So that's where, So, you know, so it's that trust that I have. It's, man, this guy's got some, you know, and he's a pastor. And then when they ask me in private, you know what the greatest thing, when people call you for prayer that they will never call.
They would not go to your church maybe, but you minister to them in a way and then they reach out to you.
They said, hey, you know what, Pastor, I met you here and so you gave me your card and my kid is sick and I'm not a religious person and well, let me pray for you. Not once mentioning Jesus, but it was what your friend said, you know. It's that kindness. It's that
gravitates towards them.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So how did you end up? Because I know that when we were working together, you know, and building together, you were working with the county sheriff's department. You had a program helping people that get out of prison.
Again, building on the shoulders of Tony Terrazas.
Yeah, Tony Terrazas.
He started the Riverside Sheriff's County Community Service Program at the church, and then when he left, I took over that, and I kind of added my new flavor to it. You know, they were there to do certain things that the government told them to do, but my personal relationship with them went further than that.
Right.
Help them with other outside needs. Well, you know what? I just got out. I have to make 100 hours. Well, I would tell myself I have 100 hours to minister to this young man or this young lady. Let me see how I could get to their hearts, so that and most of the people that would come through our doors would become volunteers. Would become
because that heart.
It was funny. Beautiful.
Well, that's got to be the mind of the minister, and I love what you just said. I want to hang on that. Like someone comes in saying, "I need to do this amount of community service hours." I need to get 100 hours from my judge-appointed person, or my school wants me to get this. The church needs to see that as, we have 100 hours to minister. Not, oh, let's find something for them to do.
100%.
But like what someone else calls a delay, the church needs to call opportunity. And
I would take them to lunch. I would say, hey, so tell me about your personal life. Well, I'm trying to get a job. Well, let's see how we could get you a job. And that's how it became. And then,
so have you always had a heart then for formerly incarcerated?
Well, I think it's my own story,
your own story.
And if I could do it, then you could do it too. You know, if you do these simple steps, you're gonna get where I'm at. Now, let's go a little bit further. So then I do this program, and then like in 2000, I would say in 2000, 17, I get a phone call from Sacramento. And they said, I don't know where I got this number, but somebody told me that you're a perfect person to talk to about, anti-recidivism, reducing recidivism. Recidivism is the act of recycling. Somebody gets out of prison, they commit a crime, they go back in. Recidivism, right?
Right. So like in the first 6 weeks, they're already back in those habits.
And your name keeps coming up as a person that, high offenders are not reoffending, and your name keeps coming up. So then I get this introduction to Sacramento, and this lady comes and tells me all, and she was like with the Department of Parole and all that stuff, and she tells me all what they're trying to do, but she makes some valid points. She goes, in the past we've worked with churches and we lost trust with that. I go, why? Yeah. So then I said, well, let me not make those mistakes. So then we worked together. So the programming got a little bit bigger. It got a little bit bigger, helping more people, and I think God again. Utilizing my struggles, my trauma. I knew the game.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys would come and I said, nah, dog, he's still in this game. Come to me when you're serious. Because, there's somebody that, could take up your space.
Yeah, but just that upfrontness you carry to the ministry too. That's respected when someone comes. They don't want to just hear some fluff. Like, oh, it's going to be great. There's real accountability.
There's real accountability,
yeah. See, and when you're unhealthy, a lot of people look at accountability as control.
Yeah.
Like when you're addicted, you see accountability as you're just trying to run my life. Or when you're living in sin, you see someone stepping in to cover you as control.
And we understand that.
Oh, absolutely. Because we've all been there. We get that.
Yeah, so I made this obviously I had my other job duties at the church, pastoring, doing the outreach facilities and all that stuff, but this became like my heart, my passion. And then as I learned more of the government dealings of between community and government, in 2019 I decided to go back to school. And I said,
really?
You know what? Yeah. So I'm going to go get my degree for government policy and legal studies.
Wow. How long was that program?
Bills. I've been at it for 5 years.
Still going?
I graduated in January.
This January coming up. Congrats. That's got to feel good.
Yes. Yeah. So I get my undergraduates in, government.
And how old were you when you started this?
I'm 49 right now.
Okay. So you went back to college at
45.
What was that like? That's got to. Did you ever go to college before?
No,
Bible college, right?
Yeah, stuff like that.
But at 45, you started a 5-year program.
I started a 5-year program, and I'm proud to say, and I thank God that He's given me the ability to excel in it. I carry a 3.8 average.
Jesus' name, that's amazing.
I have learned so many things.
3.8. I didn't even have that in high school.
Yeah, and so I'll be graduating, and my education didn't stop there. I'll be going to law school probably. I'm gonna take like a 6-month break, maybe a year. And I'm going to go to law school.
So great.
Because I really want to practice law by the time I'm 55.
Yeah.
So in doing all this, I said, I got to help my city out somehow. I got this, humanistic side of me. And, I've ran for office, unsuccessfully for two times already. Really? But I have learned so much. And this last time in 2022, I got all the correct elements. I had federal, county, state support endorsements, police, the very people that would chase me around when I was a troubled youth, young adult. Yeah. They supported me. They endorsed me. Cathedral City Police Department endorsed me. The fire department endorsed me. I missed it by 280 votes, but
So you ran twice now?
Yeah, twice.
Twice for
city council.
For city council. Yeah, and again, I get why you would run. I think of your story, your burden, what you're after. What did you learn from running though on a practical level, like for mayor?
Oh, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
Humanity needs humanity. That's the way I could see it. Now you say, church and government don't go along, state and all, you get political.
Yeah, we get debate about that, of course.
All that stuff, and I get it, but when you're true to the human in front of you, you could do a lot of service, especially a person like me. I understand what it is to be an immigrant. I understand to be an addict. I understand to make good money. Now that I'm making good money, people tell me, well, all these elements that could help further a community, when there's heart and humanity, at hand.
Yeah, humanity needs humanity. That's brilliant, dude.
Yeah, humanity needs humanity.
So simple, but so profound, because we're in this artificial intelligent world now where, we have things that are computerized and quicker and efficient, but less real and genuine and tangible.
Yeah.
Everything's being kicked out. And I think that's going to be the detriment of our society, is humanity's going to stop needing each other. We're going to just want fake stuff.
Wow.
And it's the same in ministry, man. I always tell the story about, someone got me a pair of Yeezys one year for my birthday, and it was so great. This is when like Kanye West came out. These sneakers is awesome, right? And when I got them, I was a little sus because they were fake, and like I looked at them, I was kind of like, they don't look genuine,
right?
And so I would just wear them when I went to Disneyland, and you're walking around so fast, people would see them, they'd be like, Yeezys, what? Wow, that's crazy. I stood in line for a ride one time, and this kid behind me had the same sneakers on. And he was right up close and personal, and he was just looking at him and then whispering to his girlfriend.
Those are fake.
And I told Randy, I was like, I knew. And the principle is, from a distance, sometimes fake things look real.
Right.
But it's not until you get up close and personal you realize.
Yeah.
When someone's relapsing and they call you. When someone's getting ready to commit a crime and they call you right before. They don't need some fluffed up motivation speech. They need you to be a human so that they can deal with their own humanity.
Yeah, and when you act that way, I mean, you become attractive to so many people that wouldn't otherwise give you the opportunity.
Yeah, that's
Parole
great.
called me one time and they said, Pastor Rick, we have a guy that's coming out. He's done 17 years. He's coming to your area. We want you to work with him. And I said, sure, bring him. He goes, but we have one thing that's happening. And I go, what? He's a devout Muslim. And I said, what does that matter?
Yeah. Yeah.
I go, I'm kind of offended that you...
Yeah, you think I only reach Christians?
Yeah, I'm kind of offended by that.
No.
How can me and when he came home, I mean, we had a great conversation about faith. We had great humanistic connections.
Yeah.
And to this day, we're like really good friends, But what if I would have said, "Oh, I just can't," and what if I would have said that? It just defeats what I'm doing.
Yeah, we got to be human enough to reach people.
Right.
Yeah, we deal with that in our community. We're a Bible teaching church in Fredonia, and that comes with some costs because you have to talk about controversial issues.
Oh yeah.
And there's times where people expect, like, okay, we hold this position because of the Bible. If anyone walks into our church that lives that way, we're gonna like look at them a certain way or something, and we're gonna treat them different than we would any other sinner.
Yeah.
And so whether it's like people are lying, they come to our church. We treat them just like we would anybody else. Whether they're in a lifestyle of homosexuality, they come to our church. We welcome them just like anybody else. Anyone that walks through our door, the first thing I'm not talking about is their sin.
No, you can't.
You know what I'm saying? And I think when we get
I've been to churches that do that, and it's just so.
Or they might not say it, but there's this unspoken thing where it's like
it's horrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
it ruins our witness, to be honest.
Yeah, and I've gotten a lot of support from the LGBTQ community, and they have sat down with me, and they have talked to me, and I share my heart. I go, I have convictions. You have convictions. You run your household a certain way. I run my household a certain way. And they look at me, well, that's true. I go, but I'm not here to, condemn you. I'm here to love on you. I'm here to be a partner with you in our community and see how we could, make our community better. Help the senior, help the poor, help. How could we do this together, buddy?
Yeah, and in spirit, that does something.
Yeah, and I mean, and yeah, I throw all of that on the side. I go, now.
The moments will come, though. Like you said, you get a phone call from somebody at a certain time. Like, Jesus was full of grace and truth. And sometimes we are so truth that people don't get close enough to us because they never feel the grace.
And then I go back to it. I know my truth, and I know there's a big debate about this too.
Yes.
But, okay, so some people tell me, Rick, so I work with the youth offenders.
Youth offenders?
Yeah, 16,
that?
17,
Okay.
18-year-olds who are in juvenile halls.
Okay.
And they have committed, adult crimes. And, and they're in there for, 10 years, 11 years, and they're 16 years old. And then people tell me, how do you like, what is that like? And I go, well, if you were to ask me, because they're children, all right, at 16, 17, I consider you a young adult. I go, 90% of the time, it's the parents' fault. I'm 100% sold out on that.
Yeah.
Because if I talk to
you're 100% sold on that it's 90%.
90% comes from a culture and environment that did this kid a disservice. Why? Because the dad is a career criminal, the mom's a prostitute, heroin addict, the grandma's the heroin dealer. You know, so since this kid got brought on earth, he's been dealing with this madness until one day he commits something that it's not acceptable to society. So again, he's got his truth. Does that make sense?
100%. We're questioning the act, but never questioning the environment where the act was raised.
So it's so funny, and people tell me, and then they tell me, okay, so then how do you deal with that? Well, my job is to reframe that life. That was not normal. You know, there's just so much.
You have to unlearn what you thought was
it's
okay.
It's just so much, and you just can't go straight for the jugular when you're trying to help somebody.
You got to build relationships. So when do you do that? You work with those teams?
So I've been doing it for the last 2 years. Every Sunday, it's part of my church ministry. You know, now that I'm not, you know, with Destiny, this has really become a time where
is your ministry.
That's where I give my message. But it's part, you know. Let's talk about, you know, the things of God, and let's talk about, you know, how can I mentor you and what happens after you get released.
What's the greatest joy in working with incarcerated youth?
Not only incarcerated youth, but women that I have, you know, spent 30 years in prison, and they come up, just seeing their success. That is my
the success.
Yeah, where you have to understand that my strongholds were broken. My generational curses were broken, and when I see that in somebody, to where they have kids and their kids will never, like my kids. I got 3 amazing boys. They're in the Air Force serving. Dude, they are amazing.
That's awesome.
They clown on me sometimes. Dad, you ain't no gangster. You know what I'm saying? Because they never seen that. That generational curse was broken.
Yeah.
And when I see that in somebody who spent 25 years in prison, they come out, they marry, they have a great job, a career with the union, and now they're being great parents. And
nothing like that.
Nothing like
that. Yeah. What about like some of the biggest struggles? Like what's some of the hardest parts working with formerly incarcerated?
I could tell you a story, a real sad story. 27, a man who did 27 years in prison. I get to church one time to open it, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and there's this guy, all with tattoos and stuff, and he said, hey, you know, I just got out of prison. I did 27 years, but I gave my life to Christ 10 years ago. And I said, if I ever get the chance to be in the free world, the first thing I want to do is I want to say thanks to God in a church. And my wife found your church on the way from Blythe. I opened up the church, and I seen this man weep and give thanks. You know, this hardcore, you know, formerly incarcerated man weep, saying thank you that he got his freedom. He goes away for 6 months because that's, you know, policy. They go away for 6 months to halfway home. And I reconnect with him 6 months after. Then he tells me everything that he's done during his term. He became a mathematician. He wrote several books. And about 2 years later, he got a book published, and they gave them an advance, funding advance for that book that he published. And he went out and got high and overdosed. And that really rocked me to the core, because he passed away, and that has been the biggest setback. When somebody who could have a huge success, or they are very successful, they last 4 or 5 years, and they do something that takes them back to step one. And I deal that with all the time. I'm dealing with one right now in San Diego. I mean, he's a great man, and he's doing a little bit of time. But, I mean, this guy got a congressional, you know, award for, you know, doing all kinds of greatness, and one mistake.
They're right on the cusp of something. That's right there. I mean, working with addicts is obviously a call in and of itself. Yeah. You know, I'm formerly a drug addict. I know you yourself too. My mom, you know, still a drug addict to this day. And so like our church does a lot of recovery ministry. We've done recovery ministry together. What would you say to any addicts that are watching now? I mean, we have a reach obviously with people that are further along, but our primary reach has been people less than 2 years clean, you know, in that area. What would you tell somebody that's trying to get clean, maybe staying
that it's a decision. It's a decision that you have to make. I can't want it more for you. Your mom, your dad, we can't want it more for them. And they have to understand they are not defined by their past. They are defined by the choices that they're making today. And getting help means picking up a phone and calling a, substance abuse program, talking to your local pastor. I've even had success stories where they tell me, how I got clean. I walked up to a police officer and I said, I'm on drugs. I need help.
Just going straight up to the cops.
Yeah, and it's a decision that you have to make. You have to want it, and it could be done.
It's just tough, because addiction is a disease that convinces you don't have a disease. It's like when you're addicted, it's something in you that thinks there's nothing wrong with it. And that's why the number one rule, like you said, is it's got to be you. You've got to make that decision. It's every day I still have that taste in my mouth of who I used to be before Jesus, like addicted to drugs.
I dream it sometimes, and I wake up to my wife. You can't believe what I just dreamt.
Yeah,
that I was in this garage and I was walling up. And I said, because it's for real. Mm-hmm. It's for real.
Becomes such a part of your life at one point that when you are trying to stop,
did I get a little spiritual? I go, babe, that was demonic. That's like the devil himself.
Yeah, he's coming.
Dude. Yeah.
No, and I'm with that. I mean, there's people that I've talked to, and we'll be in a recovery setting, and someone will start talking about like using, and the other person will be like, I need to walk out. I'm being triggered.
Yeah.
Like it's a real thing. Yeah. Like I just, the way you're talking about it, I can't, yeah. And I respect people like that. I've always honored and appreciated your approach to ministry, man. Because like when you sign up to follow that call of God, and I'm not just talking in a local church context. We talked about this earlier. I think sometimes we say ministry and people assume like, oh, within a church. And I think ministry is the call of every Christian to be a part of spreading who Jesus is, and I've always appreciated, but it's messy sometimes because you deal with people you get so attached to and you want the best for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to, know it's got to be them.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the normal tensions in ministry? Not specifically each issue, but like, does Rick, you yourself get refreshed and get back on track, like after a letdown or disappointment in ministry? Like, how do you deal with disappointment?
Jeez, bro. So my role at the church was, part of being the outreach pastor, I dealt with every funeral that would come through our doors. I dealt with it. Dealt with the family, with the losses. By the end of me receiving that call and doing life with them, I would end up doing the funeral for them. And, and it's a journey. During the COVID pandemic, I mean, there was a lot of death. I did so many. I'm in the Juvenile Hall system dealing with troubled youth who bring a lot of weight. You have the formerly incarcerated. So all of that started weighing down. I had my political aspirations. I had programs that needed to run and establish. And it all got to a point where I wasn't enjoying it no more. And I said, where is this coming from?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but you still go to Destiny at times, you said.
Yes.
So you are for the local church.
100%.
Yes.
I say it and I will die saying it. The local church brings the characteristics of communities that no other government entity, no other entity could fill.
I got like some super progressive 20-year-olds in church with some 70-year-old former Baptists. It's like, where else do those two worlds come together? Where else is there going to be a 20-year-old meeting with a 70-year-old in the same space in two different?
The local church will bring an element that it's unhuman, and I believe that, and that is why I said every Sunday I will go to church, because I need the worship, that element where heaven is brought down to me through this worship. I said it before too. I will sit through a message and then I will dissect it myself, But what I'm saying is that in that message, there's nuggets that are supernatural.
Yeah.
And I will never go away. I tell anybody, well, if you can't go to that church, you better go to another church.
Yeah, the church hurt thing sometimes is, I understand there's no perfect church, but there are plenty of options. And so when someone says, "Oh, the church hurt me," it's like, good thing there's so many churches.
100%.
You know, I've been getting into fishing a lot since I moved to New York, and I love it now. Like, I love going to ponds to fish. I love going to the lake to fish. There's a creek I fish at. When I go down south, I go fishing with Joseph, one of my friends, right? We go fish in the Gulf of Mexico, and there's different fish in different parts of the country. Yeah. Because different fish need different types of water to survive. And just because one church isn't your flavor, well, good thing that there's different places.
100%. And I'll preach that to the day that I die. There has to be an element of spirituality in your life. And I tell that to a lot of people. I go, I mean, I do some amazing work with the community leader in our community, and this individual is atheist, you know. Yeah. She does amazing work. I say, you have no idea what you do for God's children. I don't believe in that stuff. I just believe in a good person and stuff like that. And I hope that one day when you're in your deathbed, you call me so I could win you to Christ. Because and this is the conversations that I have with this person. Yeah, and she tells me, you know, you're such an amazing person, but I don't believe in that. It's okay, you know, but there's something beautiful to, you know, to
just being like
the things of God. Yeah,
I'd started doing the John Maxwell thing with kids, like because I do a Bible study with college kids. Last year we did it on campus, and we were doing it in public spaces, and we kind of get in trouble for it. But anyways, I was talking to one kid there at the thing, and they go, "I don't believe in any of this. I'm an atheist." And I was like, "That's great, but like you got to know God loves you, and this is important." And they go, "No, I don't think you understand. I'm an atheist." And John Maxwell does this. He goes, "Oh, okay, I understand you're an atheist." And then there's like this silence, and he goes, "But don't you miss him?"
That's funny.
And this person I said it to, she just kind of shuddered. Like, I've said it to atheists before, and they like laugh and, you know, cuss me out or something. But I said to this one lady, this young girl, this group, "Don't you miss him?" And she was just like,
yeah.
She goes, "I don't believe."
You know, and I talk to people sometimes, and they get all wound up about this. Well, they don't believe in this, or, you know, they're. And I go, no, wait. Who are you in Christ, first of all?
Right.
And why are you so upset if we, as Christians, as, you know, believers, we know that the end days are coming, and what's wrong is going to be right, and what's right is going to be wrong. Why are you tripping? Yeah. You know, why are you starting this fight? You know, instead of loving on them, and hopefully your love will click something.
It's going to lead them to a moment. Yeah, there's going to be a huge revival, and you know, I geek out with some people in our community because we have Calvinists and we have, you know, all these people, and there are Christians that believe Jesus is going to come rapture the church before the tribulation happens. So the tribulation is going to happen, and there's Christians that believe, oh, we'll be gone by then. And I could never hold that position theologically, because if there's going to be a huge revival during the tribulation, where are those Christians going to be? Gone? At least we got out. Like, I genuinely believe that we are going to suffer. We're going to go through tough times, like the reality thing you talked about. Yeah. The church has led people astray by telling them God will give you everything you want, and everything will be great if you're a Christian. And then they turn from the faith when that doesn't happen. Yeah. It's like we got to set them up as the closest way to, the way to get closest to Jesus is to suffer.
Wow, yeah.
Because that's a part of him, that he became like us and experienced it fully and greater than we ever could.
Yeah, trust me, Pastor Bills. I'm out in my community, and I respect everybody. That's awesome. Work with everybody, and I want to believe that people, you know, respect me, and I work with. I mean, and it's because I show a genuine love for, you know, the human being.
Love that, bro.
And you know, it's opened up some good doors. You know, some good doors, and I don't judge, and you know. You are you, and I am me, and I pray for you. If you don't believe in prayer, that's fine. Not
gonna stop me.
Let's go dig this trench together and help some people. You know,
that's great, brother. Yeah. Well, I think about a couple of things. I got like 2 more questions for you. But I think about how Jesus said, you know, they asked him, "What's the most important commandment?" And he said, "Well, the first is you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul. You got to love God." Yes. And then he goes, and the second is like the first.
Love your neighbor.
Love your neighbor as yourself. It doesn't say love your neighbor if they believe like you believe. No. It doesn't say love your neighbor if they worship the same God that you worship. It's the first one is love God, but Jesus said this phrase, and the second is like the first. So he never said this one's first, this is second. He says, hey, if you do the first one, it'll be shown in the second one.
And it's so sad that sometimes Christian people get hung up on, and they forget the love element. Now they say they love you.
Yeah.
But you know what? I always tell people that. I go, sometimes the English language doesn't do justice to the words. So, hey, I love you, Pastor Bill. Hey, I love you. We throw love everywhere. But you know that in the Spanish language, te amo carries weight. Like, for me to tell you te amo, it would be weird. In all that, you know? Because it carries.
If you use te amo to describe like a food. Like I say, I love my wife, but I also love In-N-Out Burger. It's like the English language falls short.
So, exactly. Because amo esta hamburguesa. You could say it,
but it doesn't sound as good as me gusta.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, me gusta. Yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know, so sometimes I say,
like
you know, people of the faith, we just throw words around like, you know, well, I'll pray on it. Well, are you really
gonna pray? Yeah.
I got caught like that the other day.
Really?
I'll be the.
You told someone that, and then you were like,
"Well, I'm sitting next to somebody, and I say this. Well, all right. Well, let me pray for it, bud. All right, later." And this person goes, "So we're gonna pray about it?" And I'm like ready to take off. And well, I guess we should pray about it.
You're right. Yeah. And you say, Father God, thank you so much for this person reminding me that I'm here. Okay, I want to end with two questions. One is a Bible question, kind of like when you look at the scriptures. Two is more of a personal question. So the first question is, when you look at like Bible characters, people in the Bible, stories that you're familiar with, is there any biblical character that you say, okay, that's my favorite, or I resonate with this one, or this story, or this person? You know, some people say, oh, I resonate with David, or I resonate with Peter, or like, is there anything off the top of your head you could think that you go, well, you know what, I've always liked this story?
I like the Paul story. Yeah.
Which one?
His conversion. You look at a character like Paul who chased Christians down, who didn't believe in. I named one of my kids after him, you know. Aaron Paul, I named my last one Aaron Paul, you know, the high priest, and Paul because I resonate with that because I was one of those persons, you know. And I think a lot of us are. And then when Jesus reveals himself to us, we get transformed and we live this life for him. And I always go back to those stories, you know, of when the scales fell, and, you know, because that's my story.
Yeah. Well, that story, Acts chapter 9, he's riding on his horse. Yeah. And this light shines and he falls off his horse. That's like what we talked about earlier. That's that first stage of encountering Jesus. Yeah. It's humility. You get knocked down. You're not all that great. Yeah. You're a high horse, you get knocked off it. And, you know, the voice says, why are you persecuting me? And he never said, why are you persecuting Jesus? It was a direct, personal, why are you talking about me? Yeah. And that grew his heart. This wasn't one of his disciples passionately preaching about him. This was Jesus himself questioning him. And I felt like that was when I got saved. Jesus asked me, what are you doing with your life? Yeah. I asked him, Jesus, please save my life. And I felt like he was like, why? What are you doing with it?
I remember saying some words that I said, Lord, if whatever this bald-headed man is saying is true, I need you to give me that. Oh. I need my family back. I need this addiction to go away. And he revealed himself to me. Yeah. And, you know,
love Pastor Obed. I filmed my testimony about a year ago where I tell my whole story. It's on my YouTube channel about like how I got healed, and I showed pictures of like the whole journey, and I put a little clip in there of Pastor Obed. I found it on Vimeo.
Dude, I have real pictures of my salvation day.
I know you do.
And I use that.
You need to text it to me.
Yeah,
I'll insert it right here. Bing.
Yeah,
this is you.
Yeah. In matter of fact, those pictures go into me into the Juvenile Halls every Sunday.
That's powerful.
And I say, look, you see this guy right here in this chair?
The power.
I had been up for 3 days, all up, you know, and I'm leaning like saying, what the heck am I doing here? And
why am I in church in this moment? Yeah, because the testimony of Jesus, it pulls people. Yeah. You know, people are like, I tell them my testimony, I got healed of cancer. And then I show them the picture of me eyes sucked back, no hair, 100 pounds. And they go, oh my God, it's the power of a testimony.
You would walk into Growth Track.
Yeah, just like, let's learn about Jesus.
Yeah, with your eyes sunken in. I said, dude, this guy should be at home.
Yeah. But it was a life-changing moment. Yeah, I love the story of Paul. I love that one story where he gets shipwrecked.
Yeah.
You know, and they're all, it says they have to throw things off the edge.
I love the prison stories. You know,
which one?
He'd been in prison,
and they're singing or something.
Yeah, they're singing. The gates open up and all that stuff. And I share that a lot too.
Really?
You know, because I'm in the cell. Them. Yeah, and I'm like, it's so funny because for 4 hours I get locked up every Sunday
with them.
Yeah, because they strip you down from everything, and I'm like, this is a time of worship, and and I go, and it reminds me of Paul. This is where we need to glorify God and worship Him and be submerged in Him, because although we're in this facility, there is freedom. You're not condemned man. A condemned man is going to go to death row, and he's got a death date. I go, you're just convicted. Now, if you're convicted for 5 years, 10 years, 15, you have a freedom date. Let's get this thing quicker.
Powerful, bro.
Yeah.
But I honor that about you, though, Rick. A lot of people are like, I want to reach people. Okay, are you willing to go into jail with them for 4 hours a week? You know what I mean? Are you willing to get in the trenches with them?
And they are some of the most amazing people I have ever worked with and loved on. And one of them just came home 2 weekends ago. He was the first person I called. I went, picked him up. We had lunch, and I've been journeying with this kid for about 3 years, and I was able to get him some Air Force Ones, and and he's on his way to recovery and living a fruitful life.
It's nothing like that, huh? Seeing later on in someone's life. Like, I am where I am today because that bald-headed preacher said, why don't you come to my house, be in my small group?
That's right, yeah.
Or, that guy with the kippah, the rabbi.
Yeah.
It wasn't, like, there's times where it's just like, because someone took a chance.
And not only that, at least me, I have so many questions, and Pastor Brian would always give them, and he would put it in, and this is what I'm thankful for, that it was practical. So what is your thought? I would always ask him, so what do you think? And what is your conviction? It wasn't like, well, this is what it is,
Right. It wasn't dogmatic.
Yeah.
It was the genuine pursuit. Yeah. And I think the church has to keep doing that. We have to answer those questions that people actually have, because there's this thing where we're like talking about things that no one's really caring about. Or we're trying to preach something that we have to hype them up to understand, instead of like, what questions do you actually have? Let me say this.
So many.
At the end of every Sunday, I invite questions. So I get done preaching. Hey, on the way out, if you need prayer today, our prayer partners are over here. And if there's anything I said today that you are skeptical about, I'll be over here if you want to ask any questions. Yeah. And almost every week, someone comes and says, I heard you mention this. Are you sure? But all I'm trying to do is say, it's okay. Bring the questions.
I working with this population I work with, sometimes in the middle of my little teaching, they'll stop me. Say, wait. So you're telling me?
God hates women?
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
And I have to, and sometimes I get stumped. I go, I'll come back next week. I'll give you that answer.
Yeah.
But I always tell them, you guys, it's not about dissecting everything that's in the Bible, because then it's never going to work. There's a faith element. I can't explain to you how a man walks on water. I can't. I don't think there's a scientific method with the hypothesis, results, controlled, not controlled, all that stuff that's going to be able to make this happen. That's
great.
It's not, we can't do it.
No,
But you know what? A faith element says Jesus walked on water.
Yeah.
It's a faith element.
100%. And there's one guy I listen to, he says, science pulls things apart to tell you what they are, but religion puts things together to tell you what they mean. Yeah. And so although science can't prove God in the way it needs to be proven, the way people want to be proven, there's a sense of meaning and purpose behind everything in life.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I fear the day that the church doesn't have people asking questions, because then we've just keep reaching each other.
Yeah.
And we're just reaching in a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing to be able to, share and then be open to questions.
Yep.
And if we don't agree with them, well, then you know what? Yeah. It's okay.
We're moving forward.
Yeah, let's move forward.
Yep. Okay, last question. When you look at your life, your family, your wife, your kids, your ministry, what God's doing in your life, what's one thing you haven't done yet that is heavy on your heart? I know you talked about school and want to do that, pursuing law. But what's like one other thing that you haven't done yet that you want to do? Doesn't have to be spiritual. Doesn't have to be crazy.
What do you mean that I haven't done?
Like something you haven't done. Like, so I like fishing. And one thing I would like to do one day is go fishing in Australia. Like, I haven't done that yet. I want to go do that. Jeez. Or, we planted a church in Fredonia. A little more, what I'm about. Like, I have vision to plant a second location in the next 5 years? Like something I want to do, get up towards Buffalo area, get up towards it. Just something like what's one thing that you would want to do? I know what we're seeing, but talk a little bit about that. Like,
jeez, I mean,
more homes or?
Well, yeah, I have goals. Obviously, you know, I want to make a dream center type, you know, of facility where all could come and get, you know,
different needs being met.
different met being. But I know that's going to happen. I do want my law degree really bad.
Yeah, come on.
I want to be able to help. I know this will get kind of weird. Help write good policy. You know, I wanted to practice immigration law for a long time and criminal law. And just recently, with all the knowledge that I have gained on policy, good policy, bad policy, what works, what doesn't, I would like to chime in, you know, at a government level and say, you know what, maybe this wouldn't work for everybody, or, you know, maybe this will work. I really want to add,
Love that.
know. Somebody told me, well, that could be really sketchy because you might have something in mind that might, that's what I want to be part of.
Yeah. Then let's have that conversation.
Yeah. Let's get a, you know, a focus group and see how we can come up with a kind of a mutual agreement on how this could be a success.
Yeah. I just love that idea of like someone can hear your story, see what you're doing, but there's always still more.
Yeah.
And not there's more like we're not satisfied, but just there's ambition, there's still vision. I talk to a lot of leaders today that they start the business or they plant the church or they get the thing, and then they lack that vision for what's next for your life. What do you want to do next in your family? Like, I want to write more books. You know, I want to do more in cancer, like reaching ministry to cancer survivors. Like, there's vision still. There's the church. There's always going to be the local church. Yeah. But outside of that, say what you want about the local church. That's going to be where things begin.
Yeah.
And God gives us those people. So it's been great having you on, P. Rick. Where can people connect with you? Where can they get your ministry? You know, is there a website for?
Yeah, there's not a website. We've been in operation about 3.5 months.
Come on.
We're still in its infancy, which has been amazing.
Yeah.
The amount of support that I have gotten from key government officials has been amazing.
That's great. Can they learn about you on Facebook or
yes,
Instagram?
Yeah, you know, Rick Saldivar on my Facebook. You know, Rick_Sal on Instagram.
Nice.
And
I'm gonna drop your email in the description if someone wants to reach out.
Yeah, Chance Initiative is the new kid on the block, but not new kid in community work. I mean, I'm rolling out a 6-month success achievement plan of things that we have done, and I'm just flipping out in my 5 months of being on my own, starting from step one. So much work we have done for the community, meaningful work.
Come on, that's awesome, man. Well, we love you. We appreciate you. We didn't even get to tell stories about our old days, but we'll save that for another time. Hey, if you're still watching, thanks for getting to the end of this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, connect with Rick. All this stuff is in the description. And stay tuned because I'm in Cali all week. I'll have some more interviews coming up soon with some fun people that I can't wait for you to meet. Until next time, see you right here on the Good News Podcast. It's great, dude.
That's good.
Let's go.